We think that our quality of life is dependent on so many different factors, and often it is, but what we tend to forget is the perceived quality of our life is in direct proportion to our most commonly felt emotions. If you feel procrastination, hesitation, frustration, desperation, depression, if you feel sad and separated the majority of the time, that's your perceived quality of life, which is low. If you feel love, presence, grace, abundance, joy, and gratitude as your primary dominant emotion, you perceive your quality of life to be great. So the quality of our life is, in our minds, directly related to how we feel the majority of the time. And most people haven't been taught to connect with their feelings. We're too caught up, we're too busy, we're too stressed. And unless we can tap into the emotion, which should be an energy in motion instead of something stuck, then we forget that the physical body will express these issues in the tissues as a diagnosis or as whatever, as it's trying to show you that there's a level of energy interference. And very often for most people in the busy world, that comes back to not being in touch with their emotions. So I truly do believe is what the world needs right now. 80% of the world's population has no clean food and no clean water. There's more than enough wealth on the planet for every being to be a multimillionaire. So there is an imbalance. There is incoherence. There is interference. And so I believe right now, Garrett, you and I and everyone listening and everyone here alive, we're going through what I believe is the Great Awakening, where we are coming into balance. Call it coming into the golden age or ascending or whatever you'd like. And because I will achieve what I believe, I choose to make my belief something so meaningful that we are here, part of meaningful pieces in this puzzle of the Great Awakening. And together, one person in the light, one person awakened in the purpose in their heart, one person able to send that love to other people, has been scientifically proven to light up the darkness in 5,000 other people. So it doesn't really take as many people as many would think. You don't have to go out and save the world. If you only sit in meditation a little bit every day and send love to yourself and love to the world, particularly to those people that you don't like. And if every person was to do this, we would ascend a lot faster. So honestly, bro, I just believe right now we're going through the greatest opportunity in the history of our species, and we play a pivotal role in that.
Welcome to the Awakening Entrepreneur Podcast. This show is for entrepreneurs that have chosen to define their life beyond the material. They have followed their soul on a hero's journey towards the mystery of the spiritual. I'm your host, Garrett. Each episode will be learning from awakened entrepreneurs and spiritual thought leaders. They have broken through the mold of being ordinary to extraordinary, challenging our paradigm, shining light to the dark, giving hope when there is doubt. The moment of truth is upon us. It is time to transcend our world from fear to love. Are you ready? Let's go! Welcome to this week Awakening Entrepreneur Podcast. You know, during my awakening journey, as I share snippets of what I'm up to, especially the spiritual side, the awakening side, different people respond to it that I haven't connected in quite some time. Like people that I used to have conversation about the 3D world, about building business and about other topics. And then it's like all of a sudden, like one person comes out, another person comes out. Wow, you're also going through this path? That's amazing. So along this journey, like one of the person that I've met along the way that has been more public. So he's not like a random person that just came out. I've always known that he's on this path, starting from building business to yoga, to spiritual, to quantum science. And now everything is all integrated together. So I knew that he's on this journey. And recently I got a chance to reconnect with him, and I thought it would be great to have him on the show. So his name is Dr. Espen Hjalmby. He's a neuroscientist, TV personality, speaker, healer, who went from 2 broken legs and near-death hospital infection to rebuilding himself from the inside out to become a powerful businessman, Australian Ninja Warrior finalist, which you can still YouTube it. It's great to watch, and father. He's a well-known researcher, coach. Dr. Espen teaches his client the same tools he's used himself to overcome a lot of more than just ninja obstacle course in his life. So welcome, brother.
Oh, mate, it's a privilege to be here. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Let's go deep and let's make this a good one.
So when would you say that you started going deep into this spiritual awakening journey? Was it during the accident you have, or was it prior, or was it later? Like when did it, or were there different stages that really like, whoa, what's happening to this world? What's happening to me?
Yeah, good question. I think for many people, we have a tendency to be quite, intellectual and trying to overthink and overanalyze everything. And, as I went through life, I was, got several degrees in science and then a diploma in teaching. And so I was quite, as a researcher and as a physician, I'm very intellectual and look at data and analytical stuff. And then I realized that I was not really happy trying to analyze and everything and trying to separate everything and the way things go in the prefrontal cortex as you use that part of the brain. So I literally I looked at my life and I realized that this is very interesting what's happening right now. And of course, then the universe does what I'm sure many of the listeners would have experienced as well, throws us a curveball. And so in 2005, I crashed a motorcycle, a 600cc racing motorcycle, and broke both my legs. And, growing up, I found my brother passed away in his bed when I was 5 years old. He died when he was a baby. My sister was born disabled. And, we grew up with not much resources. So we had some challenging times. When I then broke my legs and the doctor said, you may lose your legs because I got a staph infection, a hospital staph infection, I had this realization that I had been looking elsewhere outside of me for the answers that I seek. And far from being an esoteric conversation, this is what we do. This is what we see with our patients in the clinics. This is what we see with so many people in their lives, in the live events and the coaching that we teach. We forget that there is a field of intelligence inside of us, and that this field is not an abstract notion. This is a scientific fact. Max Planck won the Nobel Prize for this over 100 years ago. We're actually made up of 99.9% non-physical. That is 99.9% pure space. And so when we identify ourselves with our name and our position and our job and our title and the external circumstances, we're actually selling ourselves short. And so the broken legs and hospital infection had me relook at my life again, because the medical system put me together, but they also almost killed me, or it almost killed me. And of course, it's happening for me, not to me. As I'm a spirit and a soul, I see things from that expanded awareness. But it wasn't until I had to go through that, similar to you as well, Gary, when you had your dark night of the soul and the stuff. These are the awakening experiences. So in short, I went from being a primary healthcare physician, clinic owner, very analytical, to understanding that field within me, as Einstein said, can be seen in two ways. One is that nothing's a miracle, and two is that everything's a miracle. When I recognized that I'm a spirit and a soul having a human experience, and I'm here for a reason, here for a purpose, and that I have the power, the wisdom, and the beauty of the entire universe inside of myself, with humility, I can say, we all have this. And sometimes I think we forget that we are the heroes that we've been waiting for. I just looked within, started doing the work, had to start peeling back a lot of layers, a lot of layers of how I used to see this earth, how I used to see people as separate and things that are happening externally as separate, and understanding that I didn't have to continue to go without, I could start going within.
Was there a book, a teacher that guided you to validate that you are more than just a physical body, you are a spirit and a soul? Or was it just purely from internal, you just got that?
It's a good question. When I was in hospital, a couple of years after I broke the legs, when I had the staph infection that I got from the hospital, the doctor walked in and looked at his charts and just sighed. He said, best case scenario, you lose a leg. And then my fear of being disabled like my sister came through. And then he said, if an infection continues to spread and attacks your internal organs, then you die. So now my greatest fear of dying like my brother was real. And in that moment, I had a moment that we're just complete stillness, time and space gone. And I just got a message come through, this deep inner peace and calmness. And the message was, if it is to be, it's up to me. I realized in that moment, I had looked at doctors and surgeons and hospitals and nurses to heal me. People look outside of them to heal themselves, to fix their lives. And I alone can heal. As I say, the doctor can dress the wound, but only the person or the patient can heal. So I realized that I've been giving my power away. And this is a really big thing, guys, for everyone listening. Prana, life force, chi, what is, and it will always be, what is proven by science and backed by spirituality, is everything is energy. When you understand this and you start taking responsibility for your energy and then heal and remove interference and create coherence, and do so and understand that you will then come back to your natural state, which is that of the abundant state. So it was, again, that life-changing experience. And then I just started changing everything I was doing, because I understand that every area of my life, from finances to relationships to health and mental, emotional well-being, it's all energy. So I think we don't have to go through similar traumas. We don't have to go through those lessons if we take the lessons for what they are now and we apply, seeing through the veil of illusion and seeing that everything is energy.
I like what you said about taking responsibility. One of my teachers taught me that the word responsibility, it means the ability to respond. And you've taken that opportunity to, what is my ability to respond in this particular situation? So specifically, how do you go about in this healing journey? Like, do you just started like Joe Dispenza style, started like just meditating and going to a certain state and healing yourself? Or was it like just trying out different techniques?
These are the principles of what we teach, which is effectively life and business energy mastery. So it's about understanding the energy within your current reality and then amending it or changing it or healing it, if you will. Some of the teachers that I've had, I mean, one of my favorites is Dr. Wayne Dyer, Alan Watts, mastermind, Dr. John DiMartini. I know we both studied and done some of his work. Joe Dispenza, I've followed some of his work for a while. We've shared some work and I've spent some time with him in Cancun. He's just on point, with so much of the stuff that he does. So these are some really, really great guys to follow. I think Mariam Williamson, Louise Hay, phenomenal stuff. So it's important to see the masculine and the feminine side of things, the scientific and the spiritual, because in essence, they are one. We used to think that you're either, oh no, I'm not spiritual because I'm analytical, or, I'm not spiritual because I'm scientific. It's like left brain, right brain. Hello. They are needing to be in coherence if you want to understand that they are one and that you are both.
So I guess you read a lot, you study from a lot of these teachers. Do you attribute your healing to any one modality more? Because I know that when I had certain chronic pain that I had to, again, got the gift of learning how to self-heal. Like I almost like cooking up a meal. I just chuck certain ingredients in, like try this technique, try that technique, and throw it all in a bowl. And eventually one night, like 3 o'clock in the morning, like where's the pain? It's gone. But there may be a few major ingredients that I could attribute to say like that helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Were there specific ones that you found that to be extra helpful?
Awesome question. So this is a tangible question. Like, what do we actually do about this? The first thing is awareness. The first path to self-mastery is self-discovery. If you don't know where you are right now, what interference patterns are happening in the unconscious mind when it comes to your finances or it comes to your relationships, you can't change them. So we teach a system that has 8 areas of life, and then we do an energy audit where we basically get into each of the areas of life: physical health, mental and emotional, financial, relationships, personal development, career, vocation, mission, spiritual fulfillment and purpose, and time and presence. So we do an energy audit on these 8 areas of life to see exactly where we are from 1 to 10, what's keeping us stuck, and what that level of interference really is caused by. And so often, as you know, Gary, it's in the unconscious mind from younger childhood periods, called it the imprint period. And unless we go back and consciously upgrade that neurology, it just fires and wires in the unconscious mind, creating the suffering that we see every day. So we can heal and we upgrade it. And as Dr. Hawkins said, on this scale of vibration from 0 hertz to 700, fear is at 100, love is at 528. Every time you collapse your fear and turn fear to fuel, because it's also energy, we can turn that burden into fuel. We move in that area of life and then we upgrade. I know this, you might have to go back and listen to this a couple of times because I noticed myself speaking fast. The essence is, number one, you need data. You need to see the areas of life. You need to understand where you are, what's keeping you stuck. Then 2, for me, then it starts with the foundation. So we teach a 16-week program. The first 2 weeks is in the first area of life, next 2 weeks, second area of life. So you got to get the foundations right. What's the foundation? If you believe that you're a spirit, soul, consciousness, if you're more than just physical flesh, you are still having a human experience. So step number 1, cleanse the physical vessel. If you wish to live an incredible life, there is just no way around having a clean vessel, living a purity lifestyle. I've cut alcohol out of my life like a while ago now, and keeping it lean, green, clean, keeping it organic, like drinking water, not drinking the tap water, drink real water, God's water, like get back to basics and be impeccable with what you feed your body and your mind. And once you begin the purity practice and the physical vessel begins to upgrade its frequency and become more lucid in the tissue, energy can flow. energy, emotion in motion. So it starts always with purifying the physical vessel.
So the 8 areas you talked about, do you teach your students to muscle test to see where they're at the different levels? Because I think like a lot of the times that when people feel ill or have certain injuries, we look at just from a physical level, what are the symptoms and try to solve the symptoms and not solving the cause. But then if you're saying solving the cause, well, what is the cause? And what you started describing, it sounds like at least it started to go a bit further to get to the what it could be a deeper cause, especially with muscle testing. It can go further than just the surface level stuff.
100%. And, Dr. David Hawkins, the founder of the Hawkins Scale of Consciousness, with his interview with Oprah Winfrey and his books, Power versus Force, and some amazing work, a medical doctor, physician, PhD, psychiatrist, you name it. He was able to quantify that each of these different emotions vibrated different frequencies. And they used kinesiology and muscle testing as one of the prime ways of testing this. So it certainly carries a lot of validity. And we do subjective testing. So every time someone comes to our event, they go through a process of filling in the wheel of life and actually scoring themselves. So in essence, that's a subjective way of where they feel they are right now. Because for every person listening, this is important. We think that our quality of life is dependent on so many different factors. And often it is, but what we tend to forget is the quality, the perceived quality of our life is in direct proportion to our most commonly felt emotions. If you feel procrastination, hesitation, frustration, desperation, depression, if you feel sad and separated the majority of the time, that's your perceived quality of life, which is low. If you feel love, presence, grace, abundance, joy, and gratitude as your primary dominant emotion, you perceive your quality of life to be great. So the quality of our life is, in our minds, directly related to how we feel the majority of the time. And most people haven't been taught to connect with their feelings. We're too caught up, we're too busy, we're too stressed. And unless we can tap into the emotion, which should be an energy in motion instead of something stuck, I call it an issue in the tissue, then we forget that the physical body will express these issues in the tissues as a diagnosis or as whatever, as it's trying to show you that there's a level of energy interference. And very often for most people in the busy world, that comes back to not being in touch with their emotions.
If my memory serves me right, you've got a son?
Yeah.
What has he taught you?
Exactly that. Be childlike, not childish, but life's too short. No one's getting out of life. I'm a physician in clinic and doing all these things, running around, just too over analytical. He'll pick up a stick, he'll look at it and he'll go, wow, daddy, look, a stick. And Einstein said, nothing's a miracle, everything's a miracle. So I get down on one knee and I said, whoa, a stick. Why? Because I choose to see the magical in those moments. And that's what having, a son has taught me. Not so serious. It's only life. Play a bit, live a bit. I believe the universe is playful and we're here to be childlike.
I know that one of your purposes is helping people to remember like why they're here. Why do you think like as a species, like we are here on Earth?
Good question. It depends on how esoteric we want to go, but the best way to answer that question is I truly do believe that we are playing at kindergarten level right now. I really feel like we know through looking at the pyramids, for example, that still cannot be replicated to this day. We know that there's been either advanced civilizations, extraterrestrial civilizations here on Earth, or that humanity has been far advanced, more advanced than we are now, because we still can't build the pyramids to this day. In 2021. So one of the two or another solution is there. So what we know is that we have been advanced. What I personally believe, and this is not a scientific fact, but I call it a part of my hypothesis, is that we've been downgraded physically, mentally, emotionally. I believe we're only operating in the 3 lower energy centers at the moment, which is related to physical, mental, emotional, and financial. I believe there's a huge shift in those coming real soon in our world. And as such, then, if we're able to move life force energy, prana, chi, kundalini from the 3 lower centers into the heart, and the torus field, which is a scientific field, begins to open, this is the method that we teach, you now begin to bring back the divine feminine, which I truly do believe is what the world needs right now. We are incredibly blessed here in Australia, but 80% of the world's population has no clean food and no clean water. There's more than enough wealth on the planet for every being to be a multimillionaire. So there is an imbalance. There is incoherence, there is interference. And so my personal belief, and disregard it as much as you'd like, this is just my personal belief. I believe right now, Garrett, you and I and everyone listening and everyone here alive, we're going through what I believe is the Great Awakening, where we are coming into balance, finally, once again. Call it coming into the golden age or ascending or whatever you'd like. And because I will achieve what I believe, I choose to make my belief something so meaningful that we are here, part of meaningful pieces in this puzzle of the Great Awakening. And together, one person in the light, one person awakened in the purpose in their heart, one person able to send that love to other people, has been scientifically proven to light up the darkness in 5,000 other people. So it doesn't really take as many people as many would think. You don't have to go out and save the world. If you only sit in meditation a little bit every day and send love to yourself and love to the world, particularly to those people that you don't like. And if every person was to do this, we would ascend a lot faster. So honestly, bro, I just believe right now we're going through the greatest opportunity in the history of our species, and we play a pivotal role in that. And so so grateful to hang out with you too, bro, because you've done so many cool things. I mean, I came to you years ago for advice in how to scale this mission, and the advice that you gave was phenomenal. So even your impact on our organizations have had a amazing change in thousands of people's lives. So thank you, bro.
Well, you're too kind. So I guess within the Great Awakening, some people are finding it enjoyable. Some people are finding it okay. Some people are finding it extremely challenging. Commenting from what I can see within my proximity in Australia, certain people in lockdown and not liking the imposed restrictions. Certain people's business are significantly affected, and certain people's income is significantly affected. Certain people's relationship is getting strained. For those people, like, yeah, like I understand, like we're all one, and I hear that, but geez, like I still have to deal with the practical stuff that I'm losing my income and my relationship stuff. What advice can you give to those people?
That's an amazing question. Firstly, my compassion goes out to all those that feel that and that go through this. And my first bit of advice would be the number one thing that helped me through my own traumas, being in a wheelchair, all the stuff that I went through and almost dying, and having no support in that. I didn't have any family over here in Australia. So my compassion goes out to all those who suffer, and I send you love right now. Second thing is to understand the two principles. I'd like you to ask yourself a question, everyone listening, and say the answer out loud. You've got two scenarios. Scenario one, you believe that you are physical, you're only physical, you're materialistic, you're made out of matter, and there's nothing more to you than physical flesh and bone. There's nothing more to this world than what you can touch and feel. That's scenario one. Scenario two is that you believe that you're a spirit, soul, consciousness, some sort of intelligence within you. That's more than just the physical. That's scenario two. So which one do you believe, scenario one or scenario two? Go ahead and speak it out.
Two.
Right? Two. And I'll tell you what, like we've been doing this with thousands of people in our events, and 99.6% of people raise their hand when I say, what do you believe? If you believe that you're a spirit and a soul. So the first thing is raise your level of awareness to that and see your life happening for you instead of to you. If you are a spirit or a soul, then maybe, just maybe, it's not something that you're victim to. And even if it is to happen, like you lose a relationship, you lose your job, whatever, if you change the question to how is this happening for me? What am I supposed to learn from this? What am I learning from my soul here? How can I respond with love? If you change the meaning you give it, because you can't change what's happened in the past, but you can change the meaning, then you change your life. Now you're not a victim of your history, you're a master of your destiny nonetheless. So again, ask yourself the question, who am I, a spirit and a soul, having a physical experience, or just the physical? If you believe that there's more to you, then you're empowered, not disempowered. That's the first thing. That changes the game really quickly. The second thing that I would say, which is what we really teach a lot of our students, which it's difficult in the beginning, but can run as a program on the autopilot in the unconscious, if you do it enough, is to understand that everything around you right now, particularly for those who are crazy enough, in my view, to watch the news and stuff like that, like it's pumping out fear. It may give you some information, yes, but it's pumping out fear. You're being bombarded with 100 hertz. Like scientifically, this is not very clever. This is not very healthy, So anyway, the second thing that I would say here is when you look at your life, understand that everything on the outside is noise. Everything on the outside is basically just trying to distract you from doing the work. And doing the work is turning the attention back within. If all you do is a sit in meditation 20 minutes a day, I'm like, with all due respect, guys, I love you so much. I'm going to say this. If you don't have time to meditate, if you don't have time to actually sit down and do this, your mind is way too busy. If you don't have time to meditate 20 minutes, just do 2 hours. And I'm coming across firm because if there is challenge, you need to center yourself. And honestly, the more noise on the outside, the more it prompts me to go within. So meditation is basically what I'm saying here. And give yourself the gift of being in regular meditation.
Obviously, there are a lot of different meditation techniques out there. Are there ones that you personally would recommend or prefer over others, especially like in the context of someone is facing a certain crisis right now and they still have to go out to deal with the issue? I guess one of the things is to first not only calm your mind, but believe yourself, like what you say is more than just a physical being. Okay, I'm a spiritual being, and let's find some time to meditate. Like, do you have meditation that you share? Like, what specific meditation should they be up to?
That depends on each person, and what they like. Well, I certainly have several meditations. If you type in Dr. Espen meditation on YouTube, you'll find some there. I've got my yoga class on there. You guys can practice. But honestly, it depends. I use an app called Insight Timer. Insight Timer is something to take a note on. That's thousands, I think maybe millions of meditations for free. You can go to YouTube and type in guided meditation for groundedness, use many of these amazing resources for free. And honestly, the number one is just to getting to know your breath again. Like my gift to me for mental and emotional optimization and well-being is yoga. Because I'm a masculine man, I have a lot of energy, and my brain can get fogged up and busy. And so what I do is I practice yoga, because that really gets things moving for me. So for anyone that's feeling stuck in the rut right now, I challenge you to do it. If it's physically okay for you to do so, do a 30-day yoga challenge, every day for 30 days, even if it's 20 minutes. And you're going to feel much better. You can practice some of my classes on YouTube for free. In the courses, the seminars that we teach, we always include that. But that would be something that I would look for. Find what suits you best, save it as a favorite, look at Insight Timer, YouTube, and other things, and just do it regularly. If you resonate with one particular meditation, do it every day for 30 days. Like, it's all good. The main thing is just, as my dentist says, you don't need to brush your teeth, only the ones you want to keep. You don't need to meditate and do yoga, only if you want to be healthy and happy, kind of thing.
So
Is my perspective.
for some people that may not be regular meditators, what would you say is the scientific benefits of meditating on a regular basis?
The first thing to understand about meditation is that it's a natural state. We should effectively be operating in between the two nervous systems. There's the sympathetic nervous system, which many people know as fight or flight. And then there's the parasympathetic nervous system, which people know as rest and digest. The fight or flight system is a system that steals life force, that makes you sick, that drains you down, that reduces your immune system, it reduces parts of your nervous system, it reduces your reproductive system, and changes your endocrine system. Basically, what I'm saying is when you're in stress, you are literally dying faster and making yourself sicker faster. In a contracted state of fight or flight, you're not able to respond to life in a conscious way as much. And so you're very reactive. And because the energy is contracting, you're in survival. So you can't think in the high logical mind, you can't innovate as effectively, and you don't make good decisions. In the other part of the nervous system, which is what's known in India as the God flow system, and God can only flow through you, the greater organized design can only flow through you when you're in a beautiful state. As we know, Preeta G talks about this all the time. There's only two parts to the nervous system. And so then meditation, scientifically proven, is the key, or one of the main keys, to get you out of contraction, out of stress, out of sickness, out of fear and stress, and into a present time conscious, loving, beautiful, joyful state where you can, if you were to meditate regularly, both consciously and unconsciously, create the life of your dreams, because you're centered, you're present, you're relaxed, you optimize your hormones, you optimize your brainwave frequency, and you gain clarity. And so scientifically, according to so much data, you'll see that meditation in a busy day like today, and busy life like now, is one of the most research and evidence-based methods for achieving the things that we want in life.
Can you share a bit more about, I guess, the concept of like power versus force along those lines of going with the flow, in line with people that's facing certain crises? I guess one of the concept is trying to hold on to their reality, whether it's the life of a loved one or the life of a business or certain lifestyle that they wanted to keep and maintain. I heard you talked about your business being affected with COVID. And one way is part of the way that you approach it is to let go of the notion that, hey, I need the studio to be open. I need things to be the same. I need the income to be continued going up or whatever. And not saying that it shouldn't open, income shouldn't go up, but part of you, I know that you just trusted the force beyond, because a lot of us been conditioned to, we have to hustle, we have to work hard, we have to like, if we don't put out the effort, the rewards are not going to come. Like, how do you approach this beyond just like hustling?
Okay, great question. I hustled for many years, bro. Many years. The hustle is a masculine polarity. It's the mind polarity. It's the busyness. It's the frantic energy. It's the driver. It's the warrior. And the other aspect is the flow. You know, you talked about flow state. The flow state in neuroscience we refer to as transient hypofrontality, which means that transient, it comes and goes. Hypo meaning below than or less than. Frontality refers to the prefrontal thinking cortex, the analytical mind. So it means that you slow down the analytical thinking mind and you go from being a human doing to a human being. And that's, of course, the opposite polarity, the feminine polarity. Now, if you were to extract power out of any situation, like an electromagnetic field, you would need the electric and the magnetic. I'll give you an example. The Earth has a North Pole and a South Pole. A battery has a plus and a minus. If you have a battery with two pluses, are you going to get any power out of it?
No.
None. Two minuses? None. And it's the same with us. We are electromagnetic beings. Look it up. You're made up of millions of little, actually more than that, trillions of little fields of energy. And they make up one big field. It's referred to as a torus field. So we're electromagnetic. Most people, and here's the kicker, are either too much in their masculine or too much in their feminine, too overpowering or too submissive. And power is not in overpowering or being submissive. Power is in balance, in homeostasis. And so you don't get power out of two pluses or two negatives. So what we need to understand, all of us, and what we could do in this moment if we wanted to, is do an energy audit. Maybe ask the people around us, do you find me too much in the masculine? Go, stress, push, think, analyze, and too like dominant and overpowering, or do you find me more subtle, gentle, submissive, and just easy cruisy, just going with the flow? When we find balance between those two, we find coherence between the left and the right hemispheres of the brain, the masculine, the feminine, the doing and the being. And this is, of course, the natural state. So in order for us to achieve the things that we want in life, there is a period of hustle. And if there is hustle, there needs to be surrender. If there is a part of creating something new, you have to be able to let go of the old. It's just the natural state of things. So that would be my answer to that question, as in doing an audit and seeing if we're too much in the masculine or feminine. Like I was way too much in the masculine, swung all the way over to the feminine. Needed, sit with the shamans in Peru and learn from the sages and silence and that sort of stuff. And then coming back now to, okay, I'm a father, I'm a leader, teacher, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm just this average dude. But I'm also very powerful. But where do you go with that? So you got to really find that balance. And when you have coherence between the left and right hemispheres, and you have connection and coherence between the brain, which is the masculine or the mental in most sense, and the heart, you have empowerment, because that's how you get power out of something, when you have balance within the energetic field.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. Brother, like the last few years for me, like I attribute my spiritual awakening journey has really begun or really started to take off. And there's a lot of interesting journeys and stories that took me to many different places. You talked about shamans, to getting taught by shaman, to plant medicine, to breath work, to many different situations and miracles that has happened. Over the last, like I said, maybe 2 or 3 years since we last caught up, what's been some of the like holy moly type of moments that you look back is one of the highlights or more memorable part of your life?
Good question. Well, I conceived a son on Ninja Island during the finals of Ninja Warrior. That was pretty cool. So my ex and I conceived a son in the 10th in the semis. Obviously, so becoming a father is the answer to the question. That was a lot and lots of fun. Such a privilege of to be the custodian of something so pure and unconditioned, and just, children are just such magnificent teachers. So it's that. I think Ninja Warrior was a lot of fun for me, to be able to show that I can come back from 2 broken legs and hit the buzzer and inspire people that it's not the obstacle that defines us, but the way we see life and what we believe about life. The meaning that we give it that makes us who we are. And also, I would say that the third one, which is important for perhaps those who suffer at the moment in terms of business and finance, would be, one of our companies, we lost a large amount. Like we reduced our net income by about 75% when COVID hit, because that company was live events. And so we just had to go through a complete rebirth of the entire company, which we needed. We needed to peel back ego. We need to bring back more authenticity, better customer service. We need to do all these things because my nature is to scale. My nature is to grow and expand. That's what we do with our students. We take them to the next level. But I needed to ground and really build the basics. So COVID was an absolute blessing, even though we lost a lot of money and had to let go of people, etc. I believe we're going through a rapid increase of energy on this planet. Energy frequency and vibration, according to Tesla, is everything. That's what you have to look for. And now that the planet is ascending into high frequency, there's tremendous amount of light coming in. If you guys look up the Schumann resonance, look at the sunspots, the solar flares, there is a lot of photons, lots of particles of light coming into the planet right now. This is not esoteric, this is astrological evidence. So that has an effect on us. So as we go through this awakening process, we can either do so consciously or unconsciously. We can be proactive and do our personal, spiritual, mental, physical, and emotional development, or we can lag behind and have to go through it with inertia, So COVID was a massive drop and a rebirth of that, as it was in relationships and finance and business and all these things. So again, seeing things on the way, not in the way, learning to expand our awareness and seeing it from the soul. And then my belief system was, whoa, this is the Great Awakening. Of course, there's going to be this big push of what's happening because the frequency is coming up, and those structures of corruption and whatever you want to call it, any lower frequency, they're not going to survive in the light. And so I had to let go of a lot of those traits and a lot of those things in our organizations and also in my own life, because it's not going to be in alignment with what's being born in this world. So it was seeing things that what's happening now is happening for a reason. And as I say, how would love respond? What's the message from the highest light?
Sometimes that when we get signs, like, or at least for me, is that a sign or am I just giving it a meaning? Should I go on path A or should I go on path B? Path B is usually referring to the old path. Let's just say like something like what you described, the business being affected. Should I pivot? Should I downsize? Or whatever the alternative solution is? Or should I continue? Maybe it's just a small bump, as we do, like sometimes that we do, or in relationships. Sometimes that we have fights in whatever relationship, but does that mean we should part ways, or should we like somehow stay with it and work it through? So when you get into those crossroads, how do you get confirmation from the higher power or maybe from within to say, this is the path for me?
First thing, get a coach. You were an amazing coach for me. We've bounced the ideas of each other for, it's been a while, but, back 2 or 3 years now. Get a coach. Find a coach that you can trust, that's conscious, that's on the right path, that are proving to have the things in your life that you're hoping to achieve. And then have someone actually to help you take you through this process. Because if you don't, as we know, Gary, we can't always see our own blocks. It's in the unconscious, it's clouded by emotion, and so on and so forth. Step number 1 is get a coach, a quantum coach, a conscious coach if you can. And then the second thing is also, you can't really answer that question in my vocabulary and awareness, apart from including one word, and that is intuition. The ancient Egyptians believed from 3,500 years ago that the key here to seeing the truth of the universe, energy, frequency, and vibration, whatever you want to call it, the key to seeing the truth is a gland that we have in our brain called the pineal gland. We all have it. It's referred to in India as the third eye or the anjana. This is an incredibly powerful gland that in our breath work, we've seen a lot of amazing changes with our students, how the brain can secrete dimethyltryptamine, the spirit molecule. We can go on and on about this. The point that I'm making here is there is a gland in your brain that's been believed for thousands of years to be the key for you to find the answers that you seek. So the answers, if I go this way, do I go that way? What do I do? Firstly, silence the mind in meditation. Secondly, follow your intuition. And that would be the best answer to that, because your higher self, your inner self knows. So sit in stillness and then follow your intuition.
Fantastic. So thank you so much for your time. If people want to follow you and learn more from you, what's the best way? What's your website and social and stuff?
Oh, thank you, bro. drespen.com is a good place to start. DRESP for Peter, E for Echo, N for November.com. And of course, Dr. Espen Hjalmby, HJALMBY on Facebook. That's the page. I put out a fair bit of stuff on Facebook. I have some stuff on YouTube also. And right now we're putting a lot of our time into Telegram. So if you want to look us up on Telegram, that's where we can say what we want to say. I drop voice messages in there regularly, quotes, reminders, little tips and stuff like that. So Telegram, I think, is going to be a good one.
What's the Telegram channel?
Dr. Espen Hjalmby. So Dr. Espen and Hjalmby. And then we have different ones for the different groups of students, depending on what they're doing, life, quantum life coaching or business coaching, all that sort of stuff.
Are you still running courses? Are they live courses? Are they pre-recorded?
Yeah, man. I mean, my best recommendation to anyone, if you're resonating with what you're hearing right now, is go to drespen.com/QX, where you can attend the live quantum experience, where you can actually go through your own wheel of life and see where you are in each of the areas of life, and then gain the levels of awareness as to the science of consciousness and the science of energy using quantum science. And then if people want to continue the journey, they're welcome to do so. The first step I would say is go to the website, do the wheel of life, and find out where you are right now.
Thank you, brother. You're a blessing to the world, and best wishes for what you're up to and continuing the journey for lighting up the world.
And you, Gary, man, ever since the first day we met and we were hanging out, you're a humble man, you're a successful man, you're a conscious man. And I really appreciate you, reaching out and having this chat. So for those of you listening to this, I hope you've enjoyed it. Go back and listen to it again if you want to take notes, and make sure that you share this episode and other episodes of Gary's to the people that you have around you, because the messages of awakening entrepreneurs is a very timely one right now. So I thank you, brother, for inviting me on your show today.
Thank you, brother. Love you.
Love you too, mate.